For many years, I didn't really think about abortion. I knew that it was a hard decision, but I always felt that it was the woman's decision, and I had friends who made that choice, and we didn't really talk about it much after the fact. And even going into medical school, we were taught about abortion, but it was really a procedure, it was a technique, and it was separate from the issue of the fears and challenges of an unexpected pregnancy. So we were taught really, as physicians, how to help an individual solve a problem, and really in whatever way they wanted. And so abortion was really separate from the miracle of embryology. We studied all of that too. I knew about the unique life created at the moment of conception. Even after I became a believer, right, I didn't initially have the revelation of the value of every life. And I knew that there was something that wasn't quite right. And it took a few years before I did have my eyes open to that. And it happened initially watching a young woman with Down syndrome. Her brother played on one of our son's hockey teams, and she would come to the arena, and I watched her parents engage with her, and I watched the way others interacted with her, and it was just, she had contagious joy. And I felt this conviction about our prenatal screening. And I thought, what right do we have to decide that her life doesn't matter? And at the same time, a friend reached out. She had been placed for adoption as a young woman, and she met her birth mother and heard a very challenging story about what it was like for her birth mother. She was very alone, unsupported, and her life didn't end well. And my friend said, surely we can do better. And so we helped to start a local pregnancy care center, and I saw firsthand as a physician the importance of having a safe place for women to go, for men as well, to go and receive support and understanding and practical help. My patients and other women in the community started telling me their stories, and they were hard to hear. And I realized that as a physician, I hadn't done a very good job at really listening, specifically related to unexpected pregnancies, that I hadn't asked a lot of questions, that I had defaulted to a method of care that was maybe standardized in the medical field, but wasn't humanized in the way that we can really show up for people who are in times of distress. I remember this one day, a young woman came in, and she was 18, and she was fit in to see me. And she pointed to this freckle on her arm and said, my friend told me this could mean that I'm pregnant. And so we started that conversation, and she went on to say that when she was 14, her boyfriend's mother forced her to have an abortion that she didn't want. She didn't know that she had any other choice. And she thought about her child every day and wondered what they'd be like. And her words have stuck with me for many years. She said, I didn't feel like I had any other choice, and I thought that isn't okay. And if we really do believe that women should have a choice, they need to have access to alternatives to abortion. Pregnancy Care Canada was instrumental in helping us to do that. All of the resources, the equipping, training, practical help, it was crucial. So I was a big fan of this organization that helped local pregnancy care centers. And eventually I was asked to join the board, and so I did. And then when the executive director was retiring, we were looking for a new executive director. And one of the board members looked at me and said, Laura, why don't you do this? And I said, I don't want to do this. So that was in 2016 that I took on the role of executive director, and I have loved this role. It's been amazing, and I get to work with incredible people all across Canada, and I have such admiration for the frontline staff and volunteers at pregnancy care centers, and I know that they need support because they're entering a very tricky battlefield every day, and they're really that frontline exchange of God's grace and compassion for the ones who are struggling with a lot of uncertainty and fear. The work of Pregnancy Care Canada and local pregnancy care centers is a parachurch organization. We're here to support the bigger church, not to replace the church. And so it is vital that churches feel engaged and involved, and we want them to be. And we're actually working on new ways to help bring education and practical help to the local church bodies so they can understand more how to respond well to an unexpected pregnancy. So there's a practical matter of understanding this issue not from an ideological battlefield and the harsh edges of the abortion debate, but the more nuanced challenges of serving someone in crisis, in a challenging circumstance, in a place where they are filled with fear or uncertainty and don't know how to move forward. I care about the life of the unborn child and the dignity of their life. But I equally care about the life and dignity of the woman who's experiencing an unexpected pregnancy and doesn't know what to do, or the woman and man who have suffered a loss from an abortion experience. And that is my hope, that for anyone who feels in captivity from a prior life circumstance or failure, whether it's an abortion experience or any other experience, that we would represent Jesus well in our nation, and that people who aren't sure how to move forward will find the hope and the restoration that they need to live an abundant life.